Have you ever wondered where the roots of one of the most complex and longest-standing conflicts in the world began? Picture this. The late 19th and early 20th centuries, a time of significant change and tumult. This was the period when the seeds of the Israel-Palestine conflict were first sown. At the heart of it all was the Zionist movement, a political ideology that emerged in response to centuries of anti-Semitic sentiments and pogroms in Europe. Its goal, to establish a national homeland for the Jewish people. And the place they set their sights on was Palestine, an area populated by Arab Muslims and Christians, but also considered the historical homeland of the Jews. Now let's fast forward a bit to the First World War. Amidst the chaos, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration in 1917. This document expressed the British government's support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, which was then under Ottoman rule. The declaration was seen as a major victory for the Zionist movement. However, when the dust of the Great War settled, Britain found itself in control of Palestine under the League of Nations mandate system. The British Mandate in Palestine, as it came to be known, was a period fraught with tension. The British government found itself in a delicate balancing act, trying to maintain the promise made to the Zionists while also respecting the rights of the Arab majority living in Palestine. During this period, there was a significant influx of Jewish immigrants into Palestine, driven by the horrors of the Holocaust and the promise of a national homeland. This immigration was met with increasing resistance by the Palestinian Arabs, who felt threatened by the demographic shift and feared the loss of their land. And thus, the stage was set for a conflict that would span generations. 1948 marked a year of triumph for some and catastrophe for others. This was the year when the War of Independence, or as it is known in Arabic, the Nakba, unfolded. This was a defining moment in the history of the Middle East, setting the stage for a conflict that would reverberate through the decades to come. In the aftermath of World War II, the United Nations passed a resolution to partition Palestine into two states, one Jewish, the other Arab. The Jewish leaders accepted the plan, seeing it as a path to the long-sought Jewish homeland. However, the Arab leaders rejected it, viewing it as a violation of their rights to self-determination. In May 1948, the State of Israel was proclaimed, a moment of jubilation for the Jewish community worldwide. Yet for the Palestinians, it signified the start of the Nakba, or the catastrophe. Almost overnight, around 700,000 Palestinians were uprooted from their homes, marking the beginning of the Palestinian refugee crisis, a crisis that remains unresolved to this day. The 1948 war was a complex and brutal conflict, involving not just the newly formed Israel and the Palestinians, but also neighboring Arab states. It was a war that set the tone for the Israeli-Arab conflict, a tone of deep-seated hostility and mistrust. Israel emerged victorious, significantly expanding its territory beyond the boundaries set by the United Nations. The aftermath of the war left no room for compromise. The Palestinian narrative of loss and displacement became ingrained in their national consciousness, just as the narrative of survival and triumph became a cornerstone of Israeli identity. This event further exacerbated the tensions and hostility between the two groups. It was not just about land anymore. It was about identity, survival, and the right to exist. The war left a deep and enduring scar on the region, the effects of which are still felt today. The lines were drawn, and the battle lines were set. The stage was set for a conflict that would shape the Middle East and the world in ways that few could have predicted. In 1967, the world watched in awe as a war was fought and won in just 6 days. This was the Six-Day War, a conflict that would further inflame the ongoing dispute between Israel and Palestine. It all began when Israel launched a preemptive strike against Egypt, a move that quickly spiraled into a full-scale war involving several nations. The conflict was short, yet the ramifications were far-reaching. In less than a week, Israel had managed to capture the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, territories previously under Egyptian and Jordanian control respectively. Suddenly, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians found themselves living under Israeli rule. The shift was abrupt and dramatic, causing a ripple of tension that would echo through the coming decades. Palestinians living in these territories faced a new reality, one marked by occupation and the loss of self-governance. Meanwhile, the international community looked on, Grappling with the growing complexity of the conflict, the United Nations Security Council responded with Resolution 242, calling for Israel's withdrawal from the occupied territories. However, the interpretation of this resolution has been a point of contention ever since, adding another layer of complexity to an already intricate issue. The Six-Day War was more than just a military victory for Israel. It was a critical turning point in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, shaping the political landscape for years to come. The war led to the expansion of Israel's borders, but it also deepened the divisions between Israelis and Palestinians, making the path to peace even more challenging. The aftermath of the Six-Day War also served as a wake-up call for the international community. The conflict highlighted the urgent need for a solution, a way to reconcile the aspirations of both Israelis and Palestinians. However, despite numerous negotiations and peace initiatives, a lasting resolution has remained elusive. The Six-Day War and its aftermath left an indelible mark on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It dramatically altered the dynamics of the dispute, bringing new challenges to the fore. The map was redrawn and the stakes were raised. The late 20th century saw a shift in tactics, but not in tensions. As the conflict between Israel and Palestine continued, the late 20th century was marked by two significant uprisings known as the Intifadas. The First Intifada, which began in 1987, was a largely civilian-led resistance against Israeli occupation, characterized by protests, strikes, and civil disobedience. The Second Intifada, starting in 2000, was more violent, witnessing suicide bombings and military operations. These uprisings were not just expressions of frustration and resistance, but they also significantly shaped the political landscapes of both Israel and Palestine. In the midst of these turbulent times, there were attempts to broker peace. The most significant of these was the Oslo Accords, a set of agreements signed in the early 90s. For the first time, the Palestinian Liberation Organization formally recognized Israel, and Israel acknowledged the PLO as the representative of the Palestinian people. The accords aimed to establish a framework for future negotiations and a path towards a two-state solution. However, the road to peace is often fraught with obstacles. The assassination of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin in 1995 by a right-wing Israeli extremist was a devastating blow. Rabin had been a key player in the Oslo Accords, and his death created a political vacuum, leading to a surge of violence and derailing the peace process. The Intifadas and the peace process were a rollercoaster of hope and despair. Each event, each decision, each act of violence or dialogue brought the region closer to or further from peace, like a tug of war with no clear winner. They highlighted the complexities and challenges of the conflict, demonstrating that the path to peace is not linear, but a labyrinth of negotiations, setbacks, and breakthroughs. And yet, the dream of peace persisted, even amidst the chaos and violence. There were moments of hope, moments that suggested a resolution could be within reach. But as we know, history rarely follows a straight path. Peace was on the horizon, yet it remained elusive. Where does that leave us in the present day? With the past as our backdrop, let's consider the current state of the Israel-Palestine conflict, a tension-filled tableau marked by settlements, borders, and the status of Jerusalem. Today, the issue of settlements remains a significant roadblock. Israeli settlements, built on lands claimed by Palestinians, have been a source of contention and viewed by many as a violation of international law. This has led to a fracturing of the Palestinian territory, making it increasingly difficult to envision a contiguous Palestinian state. Borders are another key issue. The lines drawn after the Six-Day War, known as the Green Line, are still a matter of dispute. Israel considers these borders as negotiable, while Palestinians and much of the international community view them as the baseline for a future Palestinian state. Then there's Jerusalem, a city of immense significance to both Israelis and Palestinians, and indeed to the world. Both sides claim it as their capital. Israel asserts sovereignty over the whole city, while Palestinians envision East Jerusalem, seized by Israel during the Six-Day War, as the capital of their future state. So, where do we go from here? The path to peace is not linear. It's fraught with complexities and challenges. Some propose a two-state solution, envisioning an independent state of Palestine alongside the state of Israel. Others advocate for a one-state solution, a single democratic state that encompasses both Israelis and Palestinians. However, these solutions are not without their obstacles. The two-state solution is threatened by the ever-expanding settlements and the question of Jerusalem. The one-state solution, on the other hand, grapples with the challenge of merging two distinct national identities into one shared identity. Despite these challenges, the prospects for peace are not extinguished. Dialogues continue, negotiations persist. The quest for a solution, a testament to the resilience of both Israelis and Palestinians, goes on. The quest for peace continues, a testament to the enduring human spirit.